All right, so let's dive into these LA wildfires. It's not just the, immediate damage. We're going deep on the financial aftershocks, the ones that shake not just California, but potentially the whole country. We're looking at a potential $150 billion in damages, more than any wildfire in U.S. history.
That's right. Think Hurricane Katrina, 9/11. This has the potential to dwarf them all financially. And you're right, it's not just about the flames, it's the ripple effects that could hit all of us no matter where we live.
Okay, so we've got these 4 major fires raging. The Palisades, Eaton, Kenneth, and Hearst fires. Tens of thousands of acres scorched. But help me wrap my head around this $150 billion figure. What does that kind of damage actually look like in real-world terms?
Well, it's a domino effect on a massive scale. We're talking immediate costs like firefighting, rebuilding infrastructure, housing displaced families. Then there's the long-term hit. Businesses shutting down, maybe never reopening. Tourism, a huge part of the LA economy, taking a nosedive. People leaving the area entirely, which shrinks the tax base and weakens the local economy even further. It's a whole chain reaction that could drag on for years.
And I'm guessing the insurance industry is feeling the heat right now. Our sources mentioned over $20 billion in claims already. What does that mean for the insurance companies themselves and for everyday people like us with insurance policies?
Yeah, for insurance companies, this is a major test. We could see some smaller insurers go under if they can't handle the payouts. But the bigger issue is what this does to the insurance market as a whole. Think about it. With such massive losses, they'll need to make up that money somehow. And that usually means higher premiums for everyone, even folks who live nowhere near a fire zone.
So even if my house is safe from flames, my wallet could still get burned.
Exactly. And it could become even harder to get insurance in high-risk areas, which could make it impossible for some people to rebuild their lives. It's a complex problem with no easy solutions.
And then there's the housing market. Over 12,000 structures gone. That's a whole city's worth of homes and businesses wiped out. It's not hard to imagine the impact that has on rental prices.
Oh, yeah. Our sources are reporting spikes of 15–20%.
Yeah.
And that's just the beginning. With so little supply and so much demand, we could see even steeper increases. And it brings up some uncomfortable questions about price gouging. Is it ethical for landlords to take advantage of this situation and hike up rents when people are desperate for a place to live?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's a classic case of supply and demand. But there's a human cost to that equation. On that note, I did find one story that offers a glimmer of hope. Amidst all this doom and gloom, it's about this amazing 14-year-old, Avery Colvert, who started a fund specifically to help teenage victims of the Eaton fire. It's inspiring to see that even in the face of such devastation, people are stepping up to help each other.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even amidst these large-scale financial crises, individual acts of compassion can make a real difference. And it underscores that this isn't just about abstract numbers. It's about real people's lives being turned upside down.
Speaking of real-life impacts, our sources are reporting massive power outages, affecting hundreds of thousands of people. I can only imagine the chaos that causes, not just for families, but for businesses as well.
Think about it. Businesses forced to close, production grinding to a halt, lost revenue piling up. This directly translates into economic losses that further weaken the already struggling economy. And then there's the potential for lawsuits against the utility companies. Who's responsible for those outages? Were they preventable? These legal battles could drag on for years, adding yet another layer of financial uncertainty.
And let's not forget tourism, which is a huge engine for LA's economy, I imagine these fires. With the smoke and the air quality warnings aren't exactly drawing in the crowds.
You hit the nail on the head. The impact goes far beyond immediate damage. It's about perception. Who wants to vacation in a disaster zone? These fires are painting a picture of California as a dangerous, unhealthy place to be. And that image could linger long after the flames are out, costing the state billions in lost tourism revenue. And then, there's the political fallout. Our sources mention Governor Newsom declaring a state of emergency, deploying the National Guard, and calling for investigations. It seems like a, reactive response, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it does feel like playing catch-up. And speaking of accountability, our sources highlight some sharp criticism directed at LA Fire Chief Crowley. Allegations of budget cuts leaving the department unprepared for a disaster of this scale. He even admitted the city failed its residents on wildfire preparedness.
Yeah, that's a tough statement to swallow, especially for those who lost everything. But Crowley's criticism raises a bigger point: the financial choices we make when it comes to wildfire prevention.
Right. Do we prioritize short-term savings or invest in long-term resilience? And is that even enough when you consider the role of climate change in all of this? Our sources are pretty clear. These megafires are likely to become more frequent and intense.
Exactly. This isn't just a California problem. We're seeing these devastating wildfires across the globe, and they're putting a huge strain on economies everywhere. This brings us to that, global ripple effect we mentioned earlier. How exactly do these California wildfires impact someone sitting in, say, London or Tokyo?
Okay, help me connect those dots. I get that there's a human cost, an environmental cost, but how does it translate into dollars and cents for someone halfway across the world?
Well, think of it like a spider web. You touch one part, and the vibrations travel throughout the entire structure. These fires disrupt global supply chains. Businesses in California struggle to operate, get their products to market. This can lead to shortages, price increases for consumers worldwide.
So something I buy in London could become more expensive because of wildfire in California.
Precisely. It might be your morning coffee, electronic components for that new gadget, or even certain food items. And it goes beyond just consumer goods. The insurance industry is global. The massive payouts in California will impact insurance rates and availability worldwide. Investors might become more cautious about putting money into areas prone to wildfires, impacting real estate markets and economic development far beyond California.
It's amazing how these things are all interconnected. What you're describing is like a financial butterfly effect. One event, seemingly isolated, can trigger a cascade of consequences felt around the world.
And that's why this deep dive is so important. We need to understand these connections, these ripple effects, to be better prepared for the future.
So as we wrap up, what are the key takeaways here? What do we want listeners to walk away with?
First, awareness. Understanding that these events have far-reaching consequences, and that we're all part of a complex, interconnected system. Second, action. Whether it's supporting organizations working on wildfire relief, advocating for smarter policies, or making changes in our own lives to reduce our environmental impact, we all have a role to play in building a more resilient future.
So it's not just about donating to a good cause. It's about recognizing that these events have a ripple effect that touches all of us, no matter where we live. And that ripple effect often hits our wallets in ways we might not even realize. From higher insurance premiums to increased costs for goods and services, the financial fallout from these disasters is something we all need to be aware of.
Yeah, we started this deep dive talking about those staggering damage estimates, $150 billion looming over everything. But as you said, we've gone beyond just the numbers. The human element is crucial. Those 16 confirmed fatalities, the 16 still missing. Those aren't just statistics. Those are lives tragically cut short. And for the survivors, the trauma, the loss, the rebuilding process, that's a financial and emotional burden that's hard to quantify.
It's a stark reminder that behind every dollar sign, there's a human story. And while we focused on the financial side today, it's important never to lose sight of that. It's a stark reminder that behind every dollar sign, there's a human story. And while we focus on the financial side today, it's important never to lose sight of that.
Right.
And it feels like we're at a turning point. As climate change makes these disasters more frequent and intense, are we prepared not just financially, but as a society?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Are we willing to make the tough choices, the investments, the changes necessary to build a more resilient future? Or are we going to keep playing catch-up, reacting to each disaster as it comes with the human and financial costs mounting higher and higher?
Yeah, it's almost like we're stuck in this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Disaster strikes, we scramble to respond, and then we go back to business as usual until the next one hits.
Yeah.
But it sounds like we need to break out of that cycle and fast.
Exactly. It's going to require a fundamental shift in our thinking. We need to move from a reactive approach to a proactive one. That means investing heavily in wildfire prevention and mitigation, rethinking how and where we build our communities, and addressing the root causes of climate change. It's a daunting challenge, but it's one we can't afford to ignore.
So what can our listeners do besides, not setting any forests on fire?
That's a good start. But seriously, there's a lot we can all do. Support organizations doing wildfire relief work. Advocate for policies that prioritize climate action and wildfire preparedness. Make changes in our own lives to reduce our carbon footprint. It all adds up. Remember, this isn't just about California, it's about the future we're building for ourselves and for generations to come.
So it's not just about putting out fires, we're talking about preventing them in the first place. And that requires a much bigger, broader effort from all of us.
Precisely. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of it all, The choices we make today, whether it's how we invest our money, what policies we support, or even what we choose to buy, all of these actions have consequences that ripple outwards, impacting not just our immediate surroundings, but the world at large.
So it's not just about individual responsibility, it's about collective action.
Right, exactly. We need to come together as a global community to address this challenge. It's going to require collaboration, innovation, and a willingness to change our ways. But I believe it's possible, and honestly, I don't see any other option.
Well said. This has been a sobering, yet incredibly insightful deep dive. We've gone from the immediate devastation of the Los Angeles wildfires to the far-reaching financial and societal implications. We've explored the interconnectedness of it all and the urgent need for collective action. We've covered a lot of ground, but the conversation doesn't end here.
Absolutely. The embers of this discussion, the questions we've raised today, those need to keep burning. They need to fuel a dialogue, a commitment to action that ensures we're better prepared for the next time the flames rise.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder that. This has been The Deep Dive, going beyond the headlines to explore the interconnected world we live in. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.